Sasha, and today I will be teaching you writing tips for TOEFL exam. As you probably know, in TOEFL, there are two different tasks in the writing section, Task 1 and Task 2. Task 1 is integrated writing, and it consists of reading, listening, and writing. Okay, so it is called integrated writing. In integrated writing section, you will read a passage, then you will listen to listening passage about the same subject, and your task is to write the connection between reading and listening sections. Let me give you some data details first, and then I will explain in more details what you need to do. So, first of all, you need to read a passage. For this task, you have 3 minutes. Then you will need to listen to a file. The listenings are usually from 1 minute and a half to 3 minutes. On average, we can say that 2 minutes is on average. I see comment from Tutku. Yes, Tutku, we stopped on fourth type of question in reading, but TOEFL reading lesson is tomorrow. Today is writing lesson for TOEFL. Okay? I will continue reading from question number 5 tomorrow. Same time at 6 o'clock. So first you read something, then you listen, and then you need to write the assignment. For writing the assignment, you have 20 minutes, and in 20 minutes you need to write 150 words. Okay, so you need to write 150 words minimum, and usually they say from 150 to 225 words. If you write less than 150 words, you will not get good point, and if you write more than 225 words, you might not get a good point. But it, of course, depends on how much more you write. For example, if you write 300 words or 500 words, they may give you bad point because of this, because it means the person is not able to communicate ideas clearly in a short way. Okay, so writing a lot of words can have bad impact on your score. Now, as for reading passage, usually the reading passage is like a little bit more than half page, let's say, because there are 450 words usually in the reading passage. I hope everything is clear until now. So, you will read a passage for 3 minutes, then you will listen to a listening file, and then you need to write the integrated task. Now, keep your mind that while you are writing, you can still read the passage. So the passage can be seen any time during the writing. There is no problem about it. But the listening file will be played only once. So you do not have a chance to listen again to it. While the reading, while you're writing the whole 20 minutes, you can be looking at the reading passage. There's no problem about it. Now let me explain you what kind of relationship there might be between reading and listening files. There are usually several types of relationship. First of all, maybe the reading passage gives you information about the positive sides of something. So the reading passage gives you advantages of something. And then the listening file on the opposite gives you the disadvantages. This is one of the most common and popular relationship between reading and listening. Then we have also second type of relationship. And in that situation, there can be a situation like this. The reading passage gives you the theory, and the listening passage gives you examples of this theory. Okay, so there can be this kind of relationship as well. Then third type of relationship can be that reading passage provides you some, let's say, advantages, and the listening file provides you with other advantages. Now let's discuss what kind of relationships do you see between them. Guys, let's start with number one. If you see that the reading passage gives you advantages, then listening gives you disadvantages, what is relationship between reading and listening in this case? Please, can you write on our YouTube or Facebook pages? Okay, dear Fatih, I will try to do it. I hope my voice is better now and you can hear it more clearly. So guys, my question was, if the reading passage gives you advantages and then the listening file gives you disadvantages, what is the relationship between them? What kind of relationship do they have? So they give you opposite situations. One thing, maybe reading gives you good things, and then the listening gives you bad things, positive and negative side. So they have opposite relationship, and in this case we can say contradictory. So if we have situation like this, we have contradictory relationship. The passages are contradictory. Contradictory, it means opposite. Now, if we have second situation when the reading passage gives you the theory and then listening gives you examples of the theory, this kind of relationship can be described in two different ways. First way, we can say that they support each other, maybe, or you can just directly say that listening proves the theory. So the listening proves the theory. Given in reading. Now the third situation is when they talk about the same thing and they give you kind of similar points about it, so they are supplementing each other. or we can also say support. So the listening file supports the reading passage. Okay, so we have discussed three different types of relationship between reading and the listening passages. I see that we have some problem on Facebook. The stream is not working fine, but on YouTube everything is going great, I guess. Now, first thing that you need to do in this task is read a passage. And when you read a passage, you have 3 minutes for reading the passage. I think 3 minutes is totally enough for everyone, for all the students of TOEFL examination to read 450 words passage. Even if it's not enough for you, try to focus on the following thing. While you are reading the passage, what information do you need to take from reading passage for this? You need to the following information from the reading. You need to understand the topic of the reading passage and you need to understand main point 1, main point 2 and the main point 3. Okay, so you need to understand the topic of the passage and 3 main points about the passage. You don't need to go into very details about the reading because while you are writing, you can look at the reading text. Hassan, can you be more specific about your question? And also one more thing. While you are writing, it is always better to use less information from reading and more information from listening. Your whole writing should consist of 30 or 40% information from reading, 60 or 70% information from the listening. So your main focus should be the points made out in listening. Now, I think what we can do is we can practice this reading. I will show you one text and I will give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes later, I would like from you to tell me the topic of the reading, main point 1, main point 2, and the main point 3. Okay, let me open the file for you. Okay, I think you can see the whole passage. And we have 3 minutes. I'm waiting for you to read and then I will also read with you and identify the topic and the main points. Meanwhile, while you are reading, I will ask our IT department to fix the Facebook problem. Okay, guys, the time is finished. And now, can you please tell me what's the topic of this passage? What is it about? What can be like the headline or title of this passage? The main idea or the topic of the passage? I'm waiting for your comments on YouTube or Facebook channel. Meanwhile, please don't forget to subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. I see first comments from Tutku. Why managers hired from outside? Why managers hired from the outside for employee? Um, yes, Tutku, you are almost correct, but I would change this answer into something more specific. Or maybe if you change your sentence and make it grammatically correct, it can also be true. Maybe you can say why managers should be hired from outside. This can be correct topic. And we have comment from Mr. Fatih. What's the benefit of hiring people from inside? I think you have a typo, and I'm sure you meant from outside, because this passage talks about the benefit of hiring them from outside. Okay, so we understand. The topic of the reading passage in this case is the benefits of hiring an outsider. Or if you want to write it easily, maybe you can just say the advantages of uh, hiring outsider. Good. Tutku has changed why managers have to be hired from outside. Correct. Have to be hired. Okay. Now let's talk about main points. What is the first main point? First benefit. What's the first benefit discussed in the passage? First benefit is given, of course, in paragraph 2. No problem. So the first benefit or the first advantage, first good thing, first positive thing about hirings manager outside the company is that what? What is the first good thing about hiring someone from outside? The answer is given in the second paragraph. If you just read the first sentence of the paragraph, you can understand it from the first sentence. It's enough. An important reason for hiring outsiders as managers is that they bring a new perspective. Yes, Tutku, you're correct. The first benefit is new perspective. So we understand this is our first benefit. Then what's the second benefit or second positive side about hiring someone from outside? It's given in paragraph 3. Again, just the first sentence is enough to get the answer to the main point of this passage. If we read the first sentence of paragraph 3, giving new perspective. Yes, Soydan, giving new perspective is first main point. Now I'm asking for the second main point. Second main point is given here. Tutku, you are doing great. The second main point is the cost on the job training. So if you hire someone from outside, they have more skills and they may not need training. So this is good for the company. They don't need to spend money. All the companies love not spending money or spending less money. So definitely it is the benefit for them. And we have the last benefit given in the paragraph 4. It's about, what is it about? Let's see if we have any correct answers for this. Yep, Tutku, the last point is that they bring their business contacts. Correct. Now let's make our plan. So in 3 minutes, you should be able to make plan like this. So I will write the topic of the reading passage, benefits of hiring managers from outside. Main point 1 that we have discussed was, let's check again, what was the main point 1? New perspective. I will not write the full sentence because this is like your plan while you're writing, so you can just write new perspectives. You don't need to write the full sentences in your plan. Second main point was the cost of on-the-job training. And the third main point, third benefit, was business contacts. We have a comment from Soydan. Let me read. Development business relations with suppliers. Yeah, you are correct, Soydan. So in 3 minutes, you should be able to do this. I'm sure all of you are able to do it because, as you see, only even with the first sentences of the paragraph, you can understand the main points. The rest of the paragraph, of course, you should read because they give you more detailed explanations. Sometimes they give you supporting ideas to it. Sometimes they give you examples. So you should have a look. But you don't need to memorize the texts. You don't need to copy anything from there. We should always try to change the words, the structure, so that you just don't copy what is written there. Now, after you finish this, then we have to listen to a listening passage. Listening passage will be again related to hiring people internally or externally, but it will give you different information about the same topic. Now let's try to listen, and while you are listening, you should do the same thing. Let me copy this. So from the listening passage, again, you need to understand the topic of the listening, main point 1, main point 2, and main point 3 of the listening. Let's listen to a file and describe these things. Teacher, we should always catch 3 main points. Tutku, if you want to get good points, you should catch 3 main points. If you have only 2 main points, your score will not be good, because all reading and listening files are prepared in this kind of order and structure. Let's listen and understand what is the topic and main points.
Integrated writing task 2, page 257. Listening.
Guys, can you hear well the listening file? Can you please tell me if you are able to hear the listening file?
For some of the reasons presented in the reading, many companies have a policy of hiring outsiders to fill managerial positions. However, a closer examination.
If it is not clear, let me try to fix it. Can you please wait for a moment? I will bring a speaker to amplify the sound.
Bluetooth modu aktif.
Let's see now if it is better.
That the policy is misguided. First of all, the integrated writing task 2, page 257. Listening. For some of the reasons presented in the reading.
Can you hear better now, guys? Is the volume better now, guys, or do we still have the problem? Okay, good. Let's start listening then.
For some of the reasons presented in the reading, many companies have a policy of hiring outsiders to fill managerial positions. However, a closer examination will show that the policy is misguided. First of all, the new perspective an outsider brings into the company's corporate structure often leads to conflict in the managerial team. companies often have specific corporate philosophies, for example, about how decisions are to be reached and how work is to be organized. So when outsiders bring with them a significantly different philosophy, this can create serious disagreement and conflict, and make it difficult for the managerial team as a whole to function smoothly and efficiently. An internal employee, by contrast, is more likely to know company tradition. Another point to note is that hiring outsiders may entail an additional cost that perhaps isn't obvious. It's true that outside hires may come with required managerial skills and experience, but to become effective as managers in a new company, they also have to establish personal relationships with their new colleagues, get to know them, and win their trust. This can often take more time than one would expect, and an uncomfortable settling in period between a new boss and workers can also be more costly in lost productivity than on the job training for an internal employee. Finally, suppose a company makes a point of hiring outsiders as managers instead of promoting insiders. Well, that company will soon find that its own best employees will have no choice but to look to advance their own careers outside the company. And when these key employees leave, they will also take their valuable business contacts away with them to their new employer.
Okay, so the listening file is over. Maybe it was a little bit difficult, but I think you might have been able to understand the main idea of it. Guys, what do you think is the topic of the listening? What's the topic of the listening? I don't see any comments yet. Maybe stream is coming a little bit slow. Hmm. You could not understand. Okay, let's see if somebody has an answer. If not, we will listen again, and this time we will listen to parts by part so we can discuss together the topic and the main points. Okay, so we don't have so many students watching today, I guess. Um, Therefore, let's do it a little bit differently. We will listen again, and I will try to help you understand the topic and the main points in the listening passage. Okay, so let's start listening again.
Integrated Writing Task 2, page 257. Listening. For some of the reasons presented in the reading, many companies have a policy of hiring outsiders to fill managerial positions. However, a closer examination will show that the policy is misguided.
Guys, if you understood in the listening, it said the reading passage gives the policy about hiring outsiders. However, so when you hear this word however, directly it kind of pushes you to correct directions. if the reading passage was about advantages of hiring externally managers, and the listening says however, so listening will say two possible things. One, either internal recruitment is better, or give disadvantages of external recruitment. Okay? So the topic of the listening passage is the disadvantages or the difficulties, we can say, of hiring managers from outside. Now, while you are listening, of course, you need to take notes. And the key point about taking notes is, one, never try to write sentences while you are taking notes. It's of course impossible to write the sentences, and it's impossible to even write the words fully. You just need to take short notes. For example, here, while I'm taking notes, I will only write this sign. This one, for me, it is very clear that this is about negative things. I don't need to write the word disadvantages. I don't need to write negative sides or something like that. I will only write this symbol, and it already helps me understand what it's about. So, the disadvantages of hiring managers from outside. Let's continue now and find the main points together.
First of all, the new perspective an outsider brings into the company's corporate structure often leads to conflict in the managerial team. Companies often have specific corporate philosophies, for example, about how decisions are to be reached and how work is to be organized. So when outsiders bring with them a significantly different philosophy, this can create serious disagreement and conflict, and make it difficult for the managerial team as a whole to function smoothly and efficiently. An internal employee, by contrast, is more likely to know company tradition. Another point to...
Okay, so he talked about the first main point, the first disadvantage of hiring someone from outside, and he said that when they bring new perspectives, they also bring new philosophy with them, and it may be in conflict with companies' corporate culture or companies' corporate traditions, let's say, and therefore it will become difficult for the whole management team to work together. So, different perspectives and cultures may lead to conflicts or ineffective work of management team. Then he also mentioned that internal employee knows the company's culture very well, so he will not have the same problem. Okay, now let's listen to the second point.
Note is that hiring outsiders may entail an additional cost that perhaps isn't obvious. It's true that outside hires may come with required managerial skills and experience, but to become effective as managers in a new company, they also have to establish personal relationships with their new colleagues, get to know them, and win their trust. This can often take more time than one would expect, and an uncomfortable settling in period between a new boss and workers can also be more costly in lost productivity than on-the-job training for an internal employee. Finally,
Okay, so the second main point that he discussed is that these managers hired from outside, they don't need on-the-job training, but they need to have good relationship with their subordinates and employees. But outsiders may not have good relationship with their employees. They will need some time to get used to their employees, so it might take a little bit long time. So the disadvantage is that they do not have understanding of the existing employees, and it might take a long time to build relationships. This is the second main point. Of course, I'm telling you again, while you are taking notes, you are not able to write full sentences like this. You just need to write key words. For example, for this one, you can say building relations, and you will be able to understand what you mean while you look back at your notes. Let's see the final main point.
Suppose a company makes a point of hiring outsiders as managers instead of promoting insiders. Well, that company will soon find that its own best employees will have no choice but to look to advance their own careers outside the company. And when these key employees leave, they will also take their valuable business contacts away with them to their new employer.
Okay. So the third and last point made in listening is that when you hire someone from external source, your internal employees start looking for a job in different companies and leave you, and they can also take their valuable business contacts. So your internal employees, your internal candidates, let's say employees, may start looking for a new job, and if they leave, they will take their business contacts with them. So this is the last point that was made in listening. So far during this lesson, I have explained you the structure of the TOEFL writing task 1, and we have read one passage and understood the topic and main points. Also, we listened to a file and we understood the topic of the listening passage with its 3 main points. Now let's have a break, and after the break I will be back with you and I will explain how we can write this. What is the structure of writing and what kind of sentences do we need to use? See you in 15 minutes.